So we got character development / characterization for a bunch of our characters in Yuri on Ice this week. And along with that, we have some drama being set up towards the end of the episode. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is the drama. So, the drama is this. Victor's dog is probably not going to make it. Victor's dog is probably going to die. And many might not feel bad about this or sad or not understand the emotions, but let me kind of go on a limb here to explain. If you've ever had a pet, if you've ever had a dog, a cat, any type of pet you have, okay? They tend to be more like a family member when you do have an animal as a pet. That's just the real thing to say right now. I mean, if you have, like a pet, you've had them since a very young age, and when they've grown up with you, like a dog, for instance, you can grow rather attached to someone, and when they finally do decide to die, it's like losing a child or a family member or something. That's how many people look at pets, like dogs or cats. And so, the reason why Yuri was just acting like he was at the end of the episode is because he knows how it feels to lose an animal. He lost a dog earlier on in the beginning of the series, and it's kind of the entire reason why he went into a downward spiral, and then Victor finally popped up and started helping him out, kind of giving him a shoulder to lean on. So Yuri knows how it is to lose an animal, what it means to lose it, and how it could really make you feel sad depending on how attached to them you are. And we know Victor is pretty attached to his dog. We know for a fact he is. And with the dog dying, he's losing, like, a family member. He would be very upset if he found out after everything was said and done that his dog passed away and there was nothing he could do. He'd be very upset. He would like to be on the, the deathbed of his dog probably to see the final moments. And Yuri knows about this because the big thing at the beginning of Yuri on Ice was that Yuri never got to see his dog when his dog passed away. And it stuck with him as a regret. And he didn't like feeling that. And it's kind of like I said, the beginning to his downward spiral he had at the earlier portions of Yuri on Ice, even before the first episode. And Yuri knows how it feels, and so he doesn't want Victor to experience the exact same thing he has went through already earlier on in the last season when he was trying to be a skater. So he's trying to stop Victor from experiencing the exact same pain he felt. But this time, Victor actually has someone to lean on, and that's something that Yuri never had. See, when he lost his dog, he lost his family member, it was something he didn't really know how to cope with, because, he wasn't there, but also he didn't really have anyone to lean on to kind of experience his pain with him and understand why he's so sad. And since Yuri knows how it feels, he doesn't want Victor to be by himself. He wants Victor to be there, but also if the dog does die, Yuri will be there for him to be that shoulder for Victor to cry on or be, sad. And that right there shows the respect between these two characters, and also how much trust, these two can have with each other. I mean, let's think about this, okay? If Yuri was a greedy individual, and he only cared about his personal gain or just having Victor for himself, he wouldn't have told Victor about the dog. As we know, Yuri is someone that's been said in the past couple episodes, he wants Victor for himself. He wants Victor all for himself. He stole Victor away from everybody. But even though it looks like, Yuri's trying to keep Victor for himself, he's not to that point to where he's obsessive over him. He doesn't want Victor all to himself when it really matters. For instance, something like this. For instance, his family member dying. And so Yuri doesn't want to be that selfish individual that lies to Victor saying like, oh, your dog is fine or nothing is wrong, but he knows all the time. Like, let's look at this from a greedy standpoint. Let's say Yuri, he wanted Victor for himself, okay? He wanted Victor all to himself. He knew he was winning. He knew he was doing good. He was doing good throughout his results. And if he would continue on without any interruptions, he would win everything, okay? Let's just say he would win everything if he could continue to have Victor by his side. But he found out about Victor's dog dying, okay? And if Victor would have found out about this dog, well, that would obviously mean Victor might want to go off and, be there for his dog before, the dog passes away. And that would mean that Yuri's chances of, winning would drop to 0. And Yuri obviously knows this. I mean, like, for instance, hypothetical if he's greedy. And so he would probably keep Victor for himself. And he wouldn't tell Victor, he would lie to him just to keep Victor for himself and to, be possessive over him to where, overall, Yuri can win and still have Victor for himself. But once everything is said and done, though, then Victor will find out, and then that's where it'll go from there. Probably a complicated situation between these two characters of how Yuri lied to Victor, Victor finds out, and obviously they probably won't be coach and, skater anymore. They won't be working together ever again. So, if that was a greedy Yuri, that's probably what he would do. But we see that he doesn't have that greedy of a nature. He's someone that's willing to let someone go for the right cause. For instance, he's allowing Victor and telling Victor what is going on. He's allowing Victor to see that he is trustworthy. So, Yuri is a very good man for this. He's a very good man for actually doing that to Victor, actually letting him know right off the bat. Didn't try to lie, didn't try to say anything else. He's like, hey, you need to go back, and that's why Victor was able to even find out about this in the first place. So, Victor, you have a really good person that is looking out for you, and Yuri, you're a good man for doing that for Victor. That is something I truly appreciate and respect someone for doing. So, yeah, that development right there for these two characters, but also the relationship. So, getting off of that, let's talk about the performance. Let's talk about Eros. The entire performance of Yuri and his interaction with Victor besides the dog situation. So, has anyone noticed that Yuri is doing a kiss at the beginning of his performance? Anyone notice that? Like, it's really quick. You really have to take a moment to notice it. Like, now that I told you, you'll probably notice it every time. But it took me until I rewatched it again to really notice it. If you watch that scene again, right when Yuri starts his performance, you see him do a kiss and all that. And there's a couple of little, notices, people notice it, but it wasn't, that much focused on, so you wouldn't really realize it until you kind of really pay attention. So yeah, Yuri added a kiss to his performance after, the recent episodes and stuff, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's a nice little touch and all that, and it just goes to show you once again, the entire tones, the yaoi tones in this series, and how it's kind of like a different perspective. It's really mature, and it's a tasteful handling of these themes. I'm not going to go too far into it, because I've already talked about all this last week in my last week's episode and the previous ones, but I mean, overall, the little kiss that's been added to it and all that for everybody, that's cool, because it goes to show you the little themes that, Yuri has with Victor. So, next thing to move into, let's talk about how Yuri, throughout his dialogue while he's doing his performance, he talks about how everybody here, it's like they're against him. He's in enemy territory, and let's remember what he said a couple episodes back. He wants Victor for himself. Everybody's probably viewing Yuri as someone that has stolen Victor away. This person that was achieving so many good things, Yuri's that person that came in and snatched this man away, and he's just keeping Victor to himself. Greed. But as I said earlier on in this video, Yuri is not that greedy to, be someone that's not trustworthy. So, Yuri's a very good man for that. So, we see that he's kind of greedy to where, I've stolen Victor from everyone, and everybody around me probably that's watching probably wants me to end up losing this. They don't want me to win. I'm in an enemy territory. I've stolen, Victor from everyone, and so that obviously they probably don't want me here. But he's like, before they can intimidate me and make me scared and become what I used to be earlier on in the series, I will attack first. I'll be the first one to initiate the attack to intimidate all of my enemies. And so when he starts dancing and all that, you just see how he's trying to make everybody where they can't say anything or judge Yuri or make Yuri feel like he's scared or, he wants to cower and run. The way he goes off and does his performance just shows his courage, how much he's matured since the first beginning parts of Yuri on Ice. And throughout his dialogue, he talks about how, everybody's against him and all that, and it reminds me of the overall core topic that this series constantly brings up, which I mentioned in last week's episode. Not going to get too far into it because, as I've said, I've already covered it, but the core topic, as we know, is the yaoi theme of the series, and how the relationship between Victor and Yuri is being handled. And you see constant things back and forth with Yuri and Victor throughout this episode, like for instance Yuri grabbing Victor and pulling him in closer to Victor, kissing the boots of Yuri, which just the way that's being done, it's showing these two's relationship and all that. And the way Yuri was talking in his, dialogue, like in his mind while he was doing his performance, he was like, everybody's against me, but I will be the one to change that. I'm like, yo, I don't know if the writer was trying to mean it like that, but when I was looking at that scene, I'm like, it's like the writer who wrote this dialogue right here is trying to let us know that everybody's probably viewing this series as something everybody's against. Like, a big group probably are against this series because it has yaoi tones to it, and that's why they'll drop the series, hate the series, or whatever. And Yuri on Ice is trying to change that, and that's what, the series is about, trying to change everybody's perspective on how, yaoi can be done in an anime, manga, or even literature. And the way that dialogue was done, I felt like it was written to let us see that, from a different angle. There was more meaning to it, besides just Yuri trying to be in enemy territory, and everybody's trying to judge him for him to lose, it's kind of also like the writer is stating that everybody doesn't want the series to probably do so good. It's because they think it's the traditional type of series of how Yaoi is handled or Yuri is handled, and they don't think it's being handled in a mature way. And that dialogue, like I said, I don't know if it was trying to mean something like that, but that's what it felt like to me when I was watching this episode. But enough with that, though. Let's talk about the other performers, the other people who did their performances, and let's talk about JJ. Oh, this man definitely stole the show. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Yurio's performance, I love Yuri's performance, but JJ just won me over because of the voice actor. Yes, don't get me wrong, I like the performance, the way his body moved and stuff. Just, the voice actor is someone I hold very dear into my heart, and probably my favorite voice actor for a male character, Miyano. If you know Mamoru Miyano, then you know who I'm talking about. He's the same person that voiced Tsukiyama Shu. Harmony! You know, that's my character, that's my boy. So, Miyano, he is probably one of my favorite voice actors, and just seeing him voice JJ and doing that performance with the character, and he's like, JJ style, like, yeah, that man's so good. So, I mean, I had a good time watching JJ's performance, and just the way he was so obnoxious, but it's just the way he carried himself throughout his performance. I'm like, yeah, he really is on top of the world, and it's the type of character that Miyano would voice act. I mean, a character that's so full of himself, like, I'm the best, I'm the top of the world, and all that, you know, share the top with me. Just the way he was acting, I was like, yo, this is definitely the perfect voice actor for this character. And so, yeah, definitely stole the show for me in terms of performances. Now, Yurio overall, he was going through, once again, more development in this episode. He didn't win and beat Yuri, but he didn't do bad as well. The thing is, what really cost him his performance of being probably first place was that his grandpa was not there. And as we remember earlier on in Yuri on Ice, before Yuri and Yurio actually had their, match between each other, the big thing that drove Yurio was his grandpa. We remember a brief little glimpse of his grandpa and all that, and that's what's going on here. He wanted his grandpa to see his performance, and since his grandpa couldn't see his performance, it affected him greatly, and he couldn't perform to the best of his abilities, and that's kind of what cost him in the very end. It's kind of like this. I mean, many might feel like it was kind of stupid for Yurio to lose it, but, I mean, if you've been doing your entire performance for someone, and all of a sudden a certain person can't make it, that's gonna, be in the back of your mind, just eating at you slowly while you do something, and it's gonna make you not perform as well. I mean, it's like this. Let's say the entire reason why you're a part of this, skating competition, becoming a top skater, is because of maybe your brother talked you into it, or your sister talked you into it, or something happened in your life, this certain individual that really was your idol or helped you find your path, and then all of a sudden this person either passes away, or they're not there at all in general, and they just turn their back on you or something, then obviously that's going to affect your performance. You're not going to do as well. It's very similar to what happened to Victor and Yuri in this episode. I mean, Yuri, he lost his dog before even, Yuri on Ice began, and that's kind of what affected him a lot, and now what's going on with Victor is also going to affect him. And so, it's like this. That little problem in the back of your mind could cost everything, and what's going on right now with Yuri and Victor, that could cost, Yuri's entire performance in the next, match, to where he might fail and not do as well. But right now, what's going on with Yurio, he's in a dilemma to where his grandpa couldn't make it, and that's what cost him in the end. And I feel bad for him, I really do, because, I mean, that's the entire motive of why he's doing what he's doing right now. Like, his performance is kind of based around him. So, yeah, a lot of development, a lot of good development throughout this episode. I mean, there was another performer with, the siblings and stuff, which, that man is a straight-up siscon. I'm gonna go on a limb here and say, that man's a straight-up siscon. But yeah, it was a great episode. It was a good episode of Yuri on Ice. Great themes, as always, and also a great message to display for the entire, public that watches Yuri on Ice. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You'll have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.